Last week we talked about reflect to change. Christmas we talked about being others-centered. Today I want to share with you some ways to be more others-centered. I first titled it, Helping Others as Jesus Helped Others. And then I changed it, Loving Others as Jesus Loved Others. I woke up Friday morning with this thought. And it was an early morning, one of those like, did you have to wake me up for that? You could have told me that at like 6, maybe 7. But I was early, and I had this thought. It was kind of a crazy thought. I said, God will never put anyone in front of you he doesn't already love. And in the stupor of the 5 a.m. blues, not really wanting to be awake yet, I was like, huh? So guess what the Holy Spirit did? He said it again. I will never put anyone in front of you I don't already love. And the more I thought about that over the next couple hours, I got to tell you, it started resonating in my heart like, what? God, is there somebody in front of me that I'm not loving? Am I missing something here? Because I think I love the people you put in front of me. But it just kept going, and I'm like, I don't know what you're saying. And I was trying to go through my mind what I got planned today. Well, I have a meeting with Luke Taviano. Maybe that's who he's talking about. You ain't hard to love, brother. But seriously, I was like, really? Like, have I offended somebody? Have I done something? Did you know that God will never put anybody in front of you he doesn't already love? It doesn't mean they're going to be easy to love. That's good. Thus, the conflict. That employee, that employer, that coworker, that neighbor. I know one time, after months of preaching on loving your neighbor as yourself, we did a whole series one time. A guy in my church says, you're coming to my house and you're going to meet my neighbor. And I was like, what's up, John? And he goes, it's easy for you to say, but you don't know my neighbor. That's a whole nother story, isn't it? But that's what I'm trying to say. God knows your neighbor. God loves your neighbor. God loves your arch nemesis. He loves your enemy. Therefore, we got to love them too. What is God trying to say to us, the Bridge Church family, starting 2025? By the way, Happy New Year. Seems like we're already a month in, right? There are impossible people everywhere. Everywhere. And most of them really don't like the church or what we stand for. I mean, there's a whole movement out there to just erase the church. Because we're bigots and all these races and all these things. I'm thinking, well, there's churches of every race. What are you talking about? I don't get that. But again, they would love to just shut us up. How do we reach them? Probably not with a tract or a message or a podcast or your pastor's latest, greatest sermon. It's probably not going to work. Can't preach at them. They don't believe anything you say. Quote the Bible, good luck. Oh, it's an archaic book full of fairy tales. We might need to reach them at the point of their need. When I was a senior in high school, running from God, but still had a great heart for God. You know, a lot of times I make it sound like I was just a hellion. I really wasn't. I still had great respect for adults and my teachers and authority. And I mean, I was a hellion with my friends, but I knew God. And I knew God loved me. I knew he had a plan. I just was running from it. And so one of my friends, I was asking my mom, I said, Mom, I said, Sherry Acosta, or her name wasn't Acosta then, I said, Sherry's family's like Jehovah's Witness now. I didn't know anything about Jehovah's Witness, but I knew it wasn't like Christianity. And I said, well, how'd that happen? She goes, well, it's kind of a crazy thing, Randy. She said, they've never really attended church. And when her dad died, the only people that reached out to him was the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And they were there. They provided a meal for their family for the funeral. And they shared some words and gave them encouragement to help their family share some words about Dad. And ever since, they've been a part of that church. I said, Mom, why didn't our church do that? I was a senior in high school. I didn't know I was like smacking my church upside the head. But Pastor Mark, why didn't we? But they literally look at the obit. Still to this day, this is part of their strategy to grow their church. They look at the obits and see if there's a church represented. If not, they go find out and knock on that door and say, what can we do? Wow. I love to preach with the best of them. It's the only way I can stand to get up in front of people. Otherwise, I'd rather be back there by my wife hiding and helping. I love to preach the gospel because I'm called to preach the gospel. And I love to encourage people, and I love to challenge you. But folks, most people don't give a rip about what this Bible says until they know we give a rip about them. Don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. Are we meeting people at the point of their need? Matthew 10, 40 through 42. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me. Anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. If anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones, who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward. The little ones Jesus refers to are frequently the scapegoats or victims in our society. They are the powerless, the weak, the hurting, the abused, abandoned, the elderly, or children. They're often the easiest targets for our wrath. A successful man known for his generosity was driving his new car through a poor part of town. A boy tried to flag him down. The man didn't want to get involved, so he pretended not to see the child. As he slowed for the red traffic light, he heard a loud crash. Someone had thrown a brick at his car, denting his trunk. The man stopped, jumped out of his car, grabbed the boy that threw the brick. "You juvenile delinquent," he yelled. "You'll pay for this or go to jail." "I'm sorry, mister," the boy cried. "But my mom's lying on the floor in our apartment. I think she's dying. Our phone's been cut off, and I've been trying for 10 minutes to get someone to stop. I didn't know what else to do. Take me to jail. But please call a doctor for my mom first." The man was filled with shame. "I am a doctor," he said, and asked, "Where is she?" The boy took him to his mother, and the doctor administered CPR and called an ambulance. "Will she live?" the boy sobbed. "Yes, son, she will," the doctor said. "Then it's worth going to jail. I'm sorry I ruined your car. You can take me in now." "You're not going anywhere," the doctor said. "It was my fault. You had to throw a brick to get my attention." The doctor made sure the boy was taken care of. And as he drove home, he resolved not to fix the dent. He would keep it as a reminder that not everyone in need has a brick to throw. Churches out there throwing the Bible around, they don't need a Bible thrown at them. Need arms of outreach to care about them where they are. I'm sorry you had to throw a brick to get my attention. Luke, how many young people are throwing bricks at adults and authorities and systems trying to get somebody to help them? And some of them don't have a brick. How many of you have ever been to a 5K? You know what that is? It's a run. Most of you have never experienced one, I'm sure. I have. I've done it several, actually. I know it's hard to believe. This fat preacher could run 5K. I didn't always run, but I always made it. My favorite one was when Bryden went with me as a college football player. And he didn't really train because he thought he was good. He wasn't so good. He said, Dad, this is really hard. But when you're running that 5K, about every so many miles, whatever it is, it's not that long. It's only 3 miles. But like every mile, they'll have a water station. And a lot of the really fun runners, like the guys like Jake, that can really do this, like they'll grab it and just throw it on their head. I'm like standing there chugging, I'm like, I need that water. He said it's like you gave somebody a cup of cold water. A friend of mine, he had literally decided one really hot summer in Youngstown, Ohio, and this guy was crazy. He did random acts of kindness like this. He would go to a bar and say, hey, we'd like to clean your restrooms. I know, pretty bizarre. Shirley Alford, Pastor Alford's wife, they know them. They know her. Shirley would go in and help clean the restrooms at a bar. Now, she's a pastor's wife of one of the largest churches in Youngstown, married to one of the most influential men in that entire region. That's no lie. And she'd go in and help clean the restroom, and then they'd come out and sit at the bar, order water, and sit and talk to the people and let them ask all the questions. What are you weirdos doing coming and cleaning the restroom at a bar? Well, we're actually from a church. Do you know how many barriers they broke down by cleaning toilets at a bar? Now, I'm not suggesting that because, first of all, I don't like cleaning toilets. I don't like cleaning the restrooms. I don't like cleaning the living room, and it ain't even that bad. I don't like cleaning. But the same guy had this crazy thought. He said, it's almost 100 degrees in Youngstown, which that'd be like 100 degrees here. That's hot. And he said, we're going to go out to the stoplight, and we're going to pass out bottles of water with a little thing taped around it saying, we love you, Highway Tabernacle. That's all it said. And they taped them all up, had several hundred of the youth group there helping, putting the bottles, wraps on there. And then they went out to about 3 stoplights and just stood there. And one guy said, how did you know how thirsty I was? He goes, we didn't have to ask because it's really hot. Next Sunday, that guy came to church, and he said, I wasn't just thirsty from the heat. I was thirsting for more. And he said, if only one person came to Jesus, and they were sweating, man. I mean, these guys it was hot. I said they were hot. I wasn't out there. I ain't crazy. I hate the heat. I'll go out in the winter and do it. I'll play you dry, but I ain't helping you in summer. You're on your own. That's why I ain't going to hell. I hate heat. Listen, the thing is, it's just, when he says a cup of cold water, that's just an illustration, folks. It don't mean literally you got to go to a stop sign at 100 degrees and hand out water. People are thirsting. You know what they're thirsting for most? Would somebody just listen to me for once? I remember being a parent. How many times did our kids tell us, Dad, would you just listen to me? That pierces my soul. I thought I was listening. No, you're always telling. You already know what I'm going to say before I say it. You already got the answer, but you're not hearing me. Or how many people in the world feel like a kid with their parents sometimes? Nobody's listening. I'm hurting. I'm alone. I'm desperate. What are we doing, church? I don't need another gathering to go to. I don't need another meeting. I want to make a difference in Lima, Ohio. I want to touch people with the love of Jesus Christ. Well, I can't do it by myself. Last week I woke up early and I already had a text from the men's basketball coach at Ohio Northern. And I've spoken to a lot of the teams over there, not a lot, just a handful. I've spoken to the football team for 21 years. But slowly but surely, now that I'm driving the bus for the other teams and getting to build rapport with coaches, I'm getting to speak for some of the other teams. And he simply said, would you come share your message of the gospel of hope with my basketball team before break is over? Whew. Listen. I want to be a cup of cold water to those young men. They're just a bunch of kids trying to find their way in life, get through college, pay the bill of college. Brittany, you remember, don't you? She graduated from there, one of their best basketball players, by the way, in my opinion. Listen, already, I am so nervous about that, Pastor Mark. Because I'm going to have them right there. And I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to be religious. I don't want to be churchies. I want to be real. And tell them there's a God that loves them. He's got a plan for their life. If I go in there and preach like I preach to you, they'll be like, good try, preacher. Matter of fact, I hope he won't introduce me as a pastor. I just want them to think I'm the bus driver and go, man, what's that bus driver know about life? Huh? What's he speaking for? He's just a bus driver. I love that. Listen, what's God saying to you? Yes, I get to use sports to tell people about Jesus. Don't know why. I don't know how it all even started, except I was in FCA at 7th grade. Going to church, at a church where my pastor said every Sunday, kids, sports is going to send you straight to hell. And the who's who of my football team was there every Sunday. The who's who of the basketball team was there every Sunday. The who's who of the baseball team. 7 of them were my first cousins. And we went to church every Sunday. But we're going to hell because we play sports. That's how I grew up, John. You probably grew up in church similar, I don't know. Like, man, Pastor, if we don't play sports, we are going to be hellions. Then I went to Bible college, and for one of the first things I learned was they had a sports ministry program, how to reach people through sports. I thought, Brother Bull, you were wrong. I knew you was wrong, but now I can prove it. And now for 40 years of my life, using the platform of sports to tell people about Jesus. What's yours? Well, I don't have any connections to sports. You probably don't even like sports. You don't like me talking about it. I got news for you. I'm not there to watch ball games. I am. I'm there to earn the right to give them some water.
Right. That's what it's about.
For their thirsty soul. Don't tell Keena. But the only reason I still drive Bath is to hopefully give a kid some water. I don't like driving the bus anymore. I don't. Not this local school bus. I love driving ONU. They say thank you. Carrie, how many times you hear thank you this week? Probably not a lot. But the point is, what's yours? What's God wants you to do? Luke and Brooke feel called to reach young people. Let's take it a little further. I know for a fact that Nick and Brittany were a little nervous bringing Bowden to church today. First time in church, how's he going to act? What are people going to say? We had somebody tell us, if you don't take your kid to nursery, you shouldn't come. And we were youth pastors. You know what Marisa said? I won't be here. She outsmarted them. After a couple of weeks, pastor said, where's your wife? I said, well, she's staying home with Bryden because they told her she had to take him to the nursery and she ain't ready yet. Who said that? She came back to church, thank God. I thought, how offensive. But listen, did you know the cup of cold water they may need is to know in time they can come to church and send him to a loving, caring nursery with people that are safe, will love him and love on him and bless him, and they can come in church and not feel stressed. I'm not doing that job. I will talk to the basketball team. I love you guys, and I will hold Bowden. I will love on him, but I ain't keeping him in the nursery. I don't change diapers. I'm a grandpa. I did my time. Come on. But you can. Preschool. What did I say about earlier? I gotta pay, and their eyes are poking out of their head. Oh boy, here we go, you know. That's not for me. But is it for you? See, I'm getting that. Every one of us have a way to minister. Every one of us have something God's put in us. See, the thing that a lot of people don't know about Luke, and I didn't for the longest time, I thought he was a horse guy and a football guy. Then I found he's an art teacher. I gotta be honest with you guys, like, I don't know about art teachers. They're kind of weird. If you read his Facebook posts some days when he does his, is it dad jokes? They're bad. I mean, they're bad, but they're good. They're better than Pastor Mark's. You guys should get together. But his art is great. It's amazing. Dude, I can't draw stick people. I always tell everybody, Auburn got all my artistic value because I never used any of it. She got it all. Just pass it right on down. Listen to me. What do you have? I love the way God said to Moses, what is that in your hand? He didn't say, what's that in Pastor Mark's hand? What's that in John's hand? What's that in Brian's hand? What's that in Eric's hand? He said, what's that? What do you have in your hand? A stick. Throw it on the ground. Became a snake. I'm out. Story's over. So now pick it up. It's a stick again. You know what that's an illustration to me? Chad Wright, what do you have in your hand that God can use to give somebody a cup of cold water? They're starving. What story do you have? What thing has happened to you that you can now help others with by just simply being there? Tara Coble's review yesterday was about when Lot's friends showed up. They did perfect for the first 7 days. They just sat with him in silence. You know when they messed up? When they opened their mouths and tried to make sense of it. Isn't that what I tell you all the time? Folks, when somebody's going through a tragedy, you don't have to say a word. Show up. Matter of fact, shut up. Sit in silence. Just be there. I'll never forget the Richardson's house. The day their lovely daughter passed away in a car accident. And her mom called me from the scene, and I was at the house as fast as I could. And there were already 3 ladies in that house, in their kitchen, with bottles of water, with snacks, with sandwiches. I don't know how they got it that fast. I got there as fast. They already had stuff ready. It's almost like I don't know how they knew. They were ready to minister to that family, and they didn't say a word. They were just busy mamas, busy bees in the kitchen getting everything ready because they knew people were going to come. I'll never forget feeling like, wow. They weren't there to counsel. They weren't there to say anything, but they said volumes. What are we going to do? Randy, you seem passionate about this. Folks, this is what will change people's lives. Getting them to church, so what? We got to get them to Jesus. And sometimes getting them to church is detrimental to getting them to Jesus. When I think about that, had to throw a brick to get my attention, and then I put it with that thought God gave me the other day about He will never put anybody in front of me He doesn't already love. How do we love the unlovable? How do we love the person that's mistreated us? How do we love the person that's rude and mean and unkind to us? How do we give them a cup of cold water? Then I'm reminded of Luke's gospel where he says, do to others as you would have them do to you. Have you ever responded to somebody in a bad way when you were just in a bad way, but that really isn't who you are, but you did it anyway because you were just in a bad way and you did something bad and you just let them have it? If you didn't raise your hand, you're a liar. We're all guilty, aren't we? And sometimes it's to those we love the most. Well, that don't count. Boy, I wish that were true. I might get into heaven. How many times? You know what I want Marisa to do when I have that moment? I want her to give me the benefit of the doubt. You know what I want to do when Marisa does that to me? I'm going to keep a record. You remember that time? You want me to get my book out? No, please don't, right? But the truth is, how do we want them to respond when we have a bad day? How about if somebody's having a really bad day? How do we respond? Do we do to them what we want them to do to us? Do we give them the benefit of the doubt and come back around later and say, hey, man, you okay? You seem out of sorts today. And I know what you said earlier is not indicative of who you normally are. You know what that would do to help resolve issues with people? Just to go back around and say, hey, man, you okay? Because you kind of let me have it earlier, and I know that's not you. You all right? Boy, I wish people would do that to me instead of just leave the church. I know he was talking to me. You know, I had this conversation with a couple people this week. Did you know that most of the time when you and I talk about things and we talk and I give godly pastoral counsel or whatever about your issue, and then on Sunday, if I happen to mention that, I'm really not thinking about you? Because as soon as our counseling's done, most of the time I forgot what we talked about. Not because I don't care, because God won't let me hold that to keep me from loving you and or anyone else. But the devil, the enemy of your soul, make you think, oh, he said that because of what you told him. It's just not true. First of all, I'm not that mean. If I was, I could let you all have it right now. But I would never do that. I want to read this from the Message. Here's a simple rule of thumb for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you. Then grab the initiative and do it for them. Wow. If you would like your secretary to bring you a hot cup of coffee every morning when you sit down at your desk, maybe you should bring her one first. You still may not get one, but you'll feel good. It's an amazing thing. If it's true, it's better to give than receive. You may not ever want her to bring you a cup of coffee again, or him, or whoever. You just may love giving them a cup of coffee. And what kind of cool boss would you be? I'm expecting some coffee this week. Let me read on. Because it goes on to say, if you only love the lovable, do you expect a pat on the back? Wow. I think I'm pretty lovable. But if I only love the lovable, do I get a pat on the back? Run-of-the-mill sinners do that. That's good. If you only help those who help you, do you expect a medal? You want a brownie button? You want an award? You want a trophy? Look what I did. This is good. Garden variety centers do that. If you only give for what you hope to get out of it, do you think that's charity? The stingiest of pawnbrokers does that. How do you want to be treated when you mess up? Do something out of character. How are we going to treat others? A cup of cold water is a gift that anyone can give because it's the smallest of gifts. Even this, the smallest of gifts, is precious to the person receiving it because it's what they need. We're to do this to everyone we meet. We can't pick and choose. And that goes back to what God showed me the other day. God will never put anyone in front of me that he doesn't already love. And you know what he's expecting from Randy Davis? To love them too. You know what he's expecting from you, Brandy? To love them too. Well, Pastor, what if I can't? Then pray till you can. And say, God, help me. Change me. I really don't like this person. And you're asking me to love them with your love. That's a lot. And do you know what happened when you're honest? Look out. He's going to help you. He really will. To love the unlovable. God's got to help us. Because if we don't get this right, folks, their eternity is not going to be good. And if they do, if we do, someday when you're walking the streets of gold, they're going to come up and say, you're not probably even going to remember this. But you remember that time when you just listened to me and heard me out? It wasn't long after that I started searching what was different about you and found out you were a Christian. And I'm here because of you. I can't wait, Pastor Mark. There better be a line of football players a mile long saying, thank you, Pastor, for spending all them Saturdays on the football field. Listen to us share the F-bomb. And you loved us anyway. Can we do it? Kat, you got a song? I can't say much more. I don't want to. I need God to work on your heart. If you want to pray and ask God for a heart for the lost, that's cool. If you need to pray and ask God for forgiveness for not helping others, that's cool. Whatever you need to do. You may just need to sit there and reflect on your own life and say, who is that person God's put in front of me that I got to start loving? He's got a plan for us, folks. What's your cup of cold water? What do you got in your hand? What can you use?